A great way to stretch your dollar, of course, is, making a big dish and then using pasta or rice or mashed potatoes to make it go a little bit farther. So today I'm doing pork tenderloin with the Dijon mustard sauce. I know, sounds gourmet, right? Very inexpensive to make, and we're going to serve it over a bed of egg noodles. So I'm going to get my egg noodles in my boiling water. Ann cut the lawn yesterday, and your dog was out enjoying it? Oh, that's great. I know the dogs love it this time of year because it's like they've been cooped up. It's been a long winter. You think it's been long for you, it's really been long for the dogs. It's like, did you forget about me the last 6 months? I kind of like it outside. Okay, now, pork tenderloin rocks. Love, love, love it. First of all, it's very affordable. Also, it's something a little different. We eat a lot of chicken at our house. We eat a lot of ground beef. So whenever I do pork tenderloin, the family's like, man, Mom, this is really good. Why don't we have this more often? So it's affordable, it's lean, it's something a little different, and it's a very quick cook if you do it this way. So we've got one pork tenderloin, and this is like maybe $4 or less. And this is going to serve the entire family. And you can see how lean it is. Basically, no real fat. You don't have to worry about that. I think that's why the kids love it. Now, I threw this in the freezer just for a minute or so, well, maybe 10, 15 minutes, and that makes it very, very easy to slice. And this is what's going to make this cook so quickly is we're going to actually slice it into medallions. So just maybe a 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch thick. And just throwing it into the freezer, like I say, sometimes it'll wobble around on you a little bit if it's just, if it's not real cold. And this just gives you a little bit more to work with, I guess, is a good way to put it. Now I've got it on plastic wrap because I actually want to pound these medallions just a little bit to flatten them. And again, that's going to also make them cook very, very quickly and give us a little bit more of an area. So I'm going to take a little bit more plastic wrap, put it on top here. And like I say, this is one of those recipes that really sounds gourmet. I mean, pork tenderloin, Dijon mustard, mushroom sauce. Anybody can do this, anybody. But yet it's something that you pay big bucks for out at a restaurant. My hands a little wash here. Sometimes what we'll do to save money on the weekends, instead of going out for dinner, I'll make a really nice dinner on the weekends, kind of more like a date night dinner. Or, sometimes it'll be just Bob and I, or we'll even have the kids and do something a little dressier. So this is going to take a little bit more time than some of my dishes, just because there's a few more steps going on. So might be a really nice weekend dish. So I'm just going to flatten these a little bit with a meat mallet. Not too much. And again, little pieces are going to cook a lot quicker than big pieces. So there we go. They look perfect. Okay, a little olive oil into my skillet. Biggest skillet you have, and if you don't have a real big one, you can do this in batches. And I just want to now dredge my pieces of pork tenderloin. I'm going to season them with some salt and pepper. And dredge them, which is another word for just coat them lightly with some flour. Both sides. And I want my pan to be pretty hot. And I always kind of test it. I put the one piece in there and it's not quite hot enough, so I'll wait just a second before we put the other pieces in there. I don't want it smoking hot, but I do want this pork to get a little bit of color. There we go. Now it's the perfect temperature. And you notice how when I'm putting this pork in the pan, I'm leaving a little space between the pieces. And this is basically, we're going to give it some room so that it can brown up. I don't want to overcrowd the pan. almost done here. I think we're all going to fit in here perfectly. So that was one pork tenderloin. We trimmed off the ends a little bit. And there we go. All right, done with that. How are our noodles doing here, Ann? They're looking pretty good. Actually, those are pretty quick. I'm going to go ahead and drain them. I just don't like overcooking pasta. Nobody likes mushy noodles, so I just want to get those off to the side in my colander. They'll keep nice and warm while my pork is cooking. Okay. Fresh cutting board here, because I want to get to work on some fresh garlic. We're done with this flour. I just want to give this a little bit of a flip. When it starts to get brown. I'm not quite there on a couple of the pieces. So I'm going to get to work on my garlic. I've got a few cloves of fresh garlic, about 3, and I'm just going to use the back of my knife and give it a whack. Give them a rough chop. Flip over the rest of this pork. Just give it another minute or so. This pork is so lean, I'm just going to add a little more oil so that I can get a little color. Pork just keeps getting leaner and leaner, which is wonderful, but sometimes you'll just need to add a little bit of oil to get it browning. Now, I went to the store and got, I'm all about making dinner as quick, as easy as possible and bringing families back to the table. So there's so many great things at the grocery store that just make it less work. One of them used to be, you get the mushrooms, you had to wash them, and, cleaning mushrooms is kind of a pain. Just went ahead and got the pre-cleaned, pre-sliced mushrooms, and they really work nicely in this recipe. Okay. How's my pork doing? You don't have to overcook pork. Pork producers now, 145 is the internal temperature, so it doesn't have to be like shoe leather like it used to. We used to cook it and cook it and cook it until it just didn't taste very good. It tastes very dry. But one thing, people still, I get complaints, why is my pork dry? Well, 1, don't overcook it. 2, in some cases, I love to marinate it, especially if I'm grilling it. And I normally like to serve some sort of a sauce with pork. And that way, if it does get a little bit dry, or pork just happens to be a little drier, you've got a great sort of sauce to go with it. And that's why we're going to make this Dijon mushroom cream sauce. It's going to be out of this world. Okay, at this point, I'm going to get my pork to a plate. And you can kind of cover it and keep it warm. And it'll actually continue cooking just a little bit. And that little bit of flour, you see how the flour on the outside just gives it a really great, it's going to have a little bit of a crunch to it, some great texture. Okay, in goes a few tablespoons of butter into the same skillet that we cook the pork in, and 8 ounces, one of the small containers of the sliced mushrooms. Oh, Ann, how good does this smell? Fantastic. People think steak and mushrooms go really well together, and they do, but pork and mushrooms go just fantastic too. All right, in goes our fresh garlic. A little bit more salt and pepper. Garlic and mushrooms. Yum. Now we're going to add a little bit of chicken stock just to kind of get all those great brown bits. And some dry white wine. Dijon mustard, a couple tablespoons. Love this squeeze bottle, don't have to measure it, just kind of. And I'm going to get a little bit of a whisk and just kind of whisk this together, getting all those great brown bits from the bottom of the pan that are the remnants of the pork that was cooking. And that the Dijon not only gives it great flavor, also helps to thicken the sauce a little bit. Speaking of thickening the sauce, I've got half of a cup of sour cream. This just keeps getting better and better, doesn't it? All right, thanks, Ann. Now whisk that in here. Isn't this beautiful? All right, now we're going to take our pork with any drippings that have accumulated on the plate. That's all goodness. Get it back into the skillet just to heat it through. We've got our egg noodles that are ready to rock and roll over here. This would also be great served over mashed potatoes, wild rice. Lots of different things are wonderful with this mushrooms and the pork and the sauce. My kids love pasta though, so we're going to do it with just keep it nice and simple. So really the pork and the mushrooms are the star of the show. Just looking for some more tongs. Get our egg noodles right there. And you can bring this to the table on one big platter, or you can plate it up individually. It's up to you. All right. A couple of noodles overboard, so we'll just pick those right up. And our pork and our sauce is ready now. Looks fantastic. Smells amazing. If you could smell this, wowie. Garnish it with a little parsley. And there you go. Pork tenderloin with the Dijon mustard sauce. Recipes on our website. You can also pick it up at any area Festival Foods.